Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're excited that you are willing to help us with the annual Kitsap County Point-in-Time Count. The Point-in-Time Count, or PIT count, is important to give us a snapshot of the population of people living without stable housing or experiencing homelessness during a particular time each year in Kitsap County. The information collected by this survey is important to the people we serve, our service providers, legislators, and our community. Volunteers are an important piece of collecting this information by getting community members like you involved in reaching out and talking directly to people experiencing homelessness. Brief updates for the 2026 point-in-time count. Over the past several years, we've partnered with outreach groups in Kitsap County to perform the outdoor surveying component of the count. This approach was found to be very successful, both for the outreach teams and for people living unsheltered, and we will continue to use this method in 2026. Point-in-time count changes. We have no changes in our methodology. We will still be interviewing people at food banks, meal sites, Project Connect fairs, and through the outreach teams. However, there are several significant changes to the survey forms. Project Connect fair changes. Last year we had a few guests come to the Silverdale and Port Orchard events, seeking services that were only offered in Bremerton. This year we have rearranged the days when we are offering our fairs to ensure that Bremerton lands on Thursday, January 29th, the last day of our Project Connect fairs. If guests come to Silverdale or Port Orchard fairs and need services that are only offered in Bremerton, they'll be offered assistance with transportation to the fair in Bremerton. Timestamps are provided in the video for each chapter of the presentation. First, we'll start with a little bit of history and background about the point-in-time count, such as what is the point-in-time count, who participates in the count, why do we perform the count, and when is the count, the goals of the count, and what are the benefits that this data provides for our county. The point-in-time count is a federal housing and urban development, or HUD, mandate. In Washington state, the Homeless Housing and Assistance Act requires that each county in Washington state conduct an annual point-in-time count of sheltered and unsheltered homeless persons. These are requirements for communities receiving federal and state dollars that serve homeless families and individuals. When is the count? The count represents a single period of time from sunset to sunrise, which spans 2 actual dates. The count is required to be held within the last 10 days of January. In Washington, this is typically planned for the last Thursday of the month. We are seeking to know where people were staying Thursday night into Friday morning. The goal of the point-in-time count is to help identify and capture information about individuals and families in Kitsap County that are experiencing homelessness. The point-in-time count helps to capture critical data about our community and to help adjust our social service delivery system. It helps to understand the demographics of households experiencing homelessness, including groups such as veterans, children and youth, and those that are experiencing chronic homelessness. It helps the community when applying for federal, state, and local grants. And the better that we do our count, the better case we can make to receive the assistance needed to help people experiencing homelessness. Who is counted in the point-in-time count? The count consists of 2 primary categories, sheltered and unsheltered. People counted as sheltered for the purpose of the count are individuals or households that are residing in emergency shelters or transitional housing, doubled up or staying with friends and family, or in institutions such as hospitals, the detox, or jail. People counted as unsheltered are individuals or households staying out of doors, in the woods, on the streets in tents, etc., people living in abandoned buildings, living in their vehicles, or people living in RVs or boats, which lack basic amenities such as drinking water, restrooms, heat, ability to cook hot food, or the ability to bathe. For persons or households that are temporarily staying with family or friends or at institutions, persons living temporarily with family or friends due to loss of housing or economic hardship, they may be couch surfing or doubled up. These do not meet the HUD definition of homelessness. but in Kitsap County, we collect this information to help identify the needs for housing and services for these groups. Persons that are in hospitals, detox facilities, and other facilities in the jail are not considered homeless per HUD definition, but we also collect information from these groups where possible. So who is counted? The count does not require rigorous screening to determine if a person is homeless. Persons who self-identify as living without stable housing should be counted. Who is not counted? Individuals or families that pay rent or own their own home, are paying for their own motel stay, or living in a functioning RV or boat. If you registered and selected a survey at a Project Connect Fair site, things that you'll need to know. Prior to the event, you'll receive an email with instructions about the address, the date and time, entry instructions, and parking information. A brief training will be held prior to the opening of the fair to help volunteer surveyors learn about the forms, how to choose which forms to use, about outdoor gear tickets, and other details before the fair begins. Please make sure to arrive early. Commonly, we need many volunteers at the opening of the fair, and surveyors may leave early as the number of guests decreases. If you registered and selected a survey at one or more food banks or meal sites, here's some things that you'll need to know. Prior to these events, you'll receive an email with instructions about the address, the date and time, and survey packet pickup locations. Packets with survey materials will be delivered to food banks prior to the count. The email should note where to find the packets or who to ask at the location. The packets contain many materials, including survey forms, surveyor instructions, which is a blue sheet, which provides some example dialogue, sign-in sheets, which are pink, which you'll need to sign in so we can log your hours, volunteer badges, pens, and possibly clipboards. Generally, we try to ensure that there are 2 volunteers together at these locations to work together. Sign in on the pink sheet. Once a shift is completed, volunteers will turn over the materials to the next shift, or if it's the last shift of the day, return to the pickup location. If it's the final day and shift at a site, we request that the volunteers either return the survey packet directly to the Housing and Homelessness Division or leave the packet at the pickup location. What to expect when you engage persons to survey? You may be a bit apprehensive if you are going into places where people are living and not sure how they will respond. Many people are willing to share their story and want to be heard. A few individuals may not be willing to speak with you, and we need to be respectful. If you approach people with respect and dignity, they will usually respond positively and want to help. Follow their cues. The person you're interviewing may be willing to share their whole story. Listen respectfully and let them know that you hear what they're saying. If the person that you're interviewing is only willing to provide some information, accept what you can. If they are unwilling to share, there are still a few pieces of information we can still collect. What is shared with you is their story of what they need and how long they've been experiencing homelessness. Be prepared to hear some heartbreaking accounts, stories of hope, and you'll also hear stories of people who are comfortable living out of doors. Approach every person with courtesy and respect. Look them in the eyes and ask for their help. Do not hand people the surveys to fill out. Volunteers should ask questions and fill in each survey. This helps us to collect accurate, legible, and consistent information. If the person requests, you're certainly welcome to show them the survey. Below we have provided some sample greeting dialogue. If you would prefer to ask this question in a different way that's more natural for you, you're certainly welcome to do so. Hello, my name is blank. I'm a volunteer working with our community to collect information about people living without stable housing so that we can do a better job of providing the kinds of housing and services that are needed. Would you be willing to talk to me for a few minutes as I fill out this survey form? If the person responds positively that they would like to help, thank them for doing so and ask if they have completed the survey with another volunteer earlier this week. Ask them, where did or where will you stay on the night of the count? And have you or anyone in your household been continuously without housing for a year or more. Then continue with the rest of the questions on the survey. If the person does not respond or negatively responds that they do not want to participate, thank them for their help, step away, and fill in the following information: location, both sections A and B of the form, and age or estimated age. Gather as much information as possible. If someone you are surveying does not wish to participate in the survey or does not answer any of the questions, thank the person, step away, and fill in a survey with at least the following information: the current location where you encountered the person, the living situation where they stayed overnight if you can tell, and an estimated year of birth or age. Required fields on the form are highlighted with thick double borders. If a person does not wish to participate, these are the minimum required fields needed for the purposes of the count. Make every effort to collect names and birthdays. Names and birthdays help us to ensure that we count each person only once, even if they happen to complete the survey more than one time. Here are some clarifications and more details about the questions on the forms used in the point-in-time count. In Section A, Interview Location, this is where the survey was given. Note the location where the household took the survey, such as businesses, landmarks, cross streets, or if given at a service location, include the name of the food bank, social service agency, or other site information. If surveying at a Project Connect fair, check the appropriate PC site. If the interview is performed at a Connect Fair, service site, or other location where the household isn't staying, ask the person in which city their household was or will be staying Thursday night. Also include the name of the surveyor. Please write clearly so it may contact you if there are any questions or clarifications needed. Section B collects information about where the person was sleeping on the night of the count. Check or circle the answer that best matches their description. Where did the person stay? The time period we are looking for is Thursday night into Friday morning. Please note that jail and shelter are provided here if needed, but are not considered meeting the criteria for being unsheltered for the purposes of the point-in-time count. For people that are living in boats or RVs, it requires a differentiation as to whether that would be considered sheltered or unsheltered for the purpose of the count. RVs and boats can be considered living unsheltered if they lack basic amenities, such as drinking water, restrooms, heat, the ability to cook hot food, or the ability to bathe. For RVs and boats, the distinguishing factor as to whether the RV or boat is designed to be lived in, and if those facilities are degraded to the point where the RV or boat could not be distinguishable from living in a car. We don't want to get into asking if the RV or boat is fully functioning for living, but if it looks severely degraded or non-functional, it should be considered unsheltered. RV parks are not counted as unsheltered for the count. So if an RV or camper van is parked in a mobile home park or campus that advertises itself as providing temporary stays, and the RV is regularly connected to water, sewer, and utilities, or a septic system, well and generator, where the park campus provides toilets, showers, and communal food preparation or food services, this is not considered unsheltered for the count. Section C asks questions about the length of time without stable housing. These questions are used to determine if the household is experiencing chronic homelessness. Question C1. Have you or anyone in your household been continuously without housing for a year or more? If the answer is yes, you can skip to question 3 below. If the answer is no, continue on to the next questions. Question C2. Have you or anyone in the household been without housing 4 or more times in the last 3 years? Then ask, do these times without housing, added together, amount to a year or more? Lastly, ask where they last had permanent housing, the city, state, and zip code if known. Household information, Section D. Each member of a household should be listed in the Household Information section. A single person is considered a household, i.e., a household consisting of one person. So single individuals should complete the Household Information section. The first question in this section is, what is the household makeup? Is it a household without children? Is it a household with children? Or household of only children, where all the household individuals are under 18 years of age? The next question refers to domestic violence. Ask, are you or any household members currently fleeing domestic violence? This includes sexual assault and stalking. If anyone in the household says yes, then we do not collect names, dates of birth, or race or ethnicity. We do, however, still collect their age. We continue to fill out the rest of the household information section. We collect the first name and last name, so long as the person is not fleeing domestic violence. Collect first name and last name and print clearly. Generally, the first person you survey is the head of household, but it does not really matter which adult is in which line on the form. Next, we fill in that person's relationship to the head of household. The first entry is always for self, so if you have a household of one person, that relationship will always be self. If there are other family members, include who that family member is by their name, as well as their relationship to the household. So examples might include son or daughter, child or mother, father, sister, wife, husband, spouse, partner, significant other, sibling, guardian, etc. You can write in whatever relationship that person has. If it is not completed, we'll put that in as unknown. Date of birth or age. So if the full birth date is provided, collect that. Full birth date can be refused, and then in that case the year of birth is okay, or a surveyor can estimate the person's age if needed. The next question that we ask for each household member is, what races or ethnicities do you identify as? Check all that apply. If the person identifies themselves as being American Indian, Alaska Native, or Indigenous, additionally ask if they have a tribal affiliation, and write that in if provided. We also ask each member information about any disabling conditions or barriers. So ask for each member, do any of these apply to you? A permanent physical disability, a developmental disability, substantial and long-term mental health condition, chronic health condition, or a substantial and long-term substance use disorder. Check all that apply. For veteran status, ask, have you ever served active duty in the U.S. military? Anyone who has served active duty in the U.S. military is considered a veteran. Mark yes or no. Flip the page and continue on to sections F and G. Section F is about the circumstances leading to your housing status. As the person communicates their story to you and they tell you what's happened, they will likely have answered some of these questions for you. If they have not directly answered it, you can ask these questions aloud. Check all that apply. Section G asks for sources of household income and benefits. Ask the person if they receive any public assistance like TANF, Social Security Disability, VA benefits, unemployment, Medicaid, Medicare. Check all that apply. Ask the person if they're employed. If so, check off if it's full-time, part-time, or farm work or seasonal. Ask if the person has other income. Note, if the person describes income or benefits not included in the list, go ahead and write these on the form. After completing the survey, the final step is to have each adult sign for consent. Ask the person to look over the Kitsap client release of information on the back of the form. You may ask them, we'd like to include your information in a database that helps us collect information into reports for our funders. We will never release your name or personally identifying information to the public. Would you be willing to help us by signing this release? The information gathered here is entered into the Washington State Homeless Information Management System, or HMIS. This database has strict security policies to protect privacy. A client's name and personally identifying information will not be included in any reports or publications. Information is only aggregated for analysis. They may refuse to sign the release form if they do not want their personally identifying information entered into the database. They should not sign if they are currently fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking situation, or under 13 years of age. The surveyed person must sign the release in Section E to include their information in the count. If the person does not give consent, or if the signature is forgotten, the survey will be entered, but without identifying information. This will include only approximated year of birth, gender, and location of the survey. If the person chooses to sign the consent form, the volunteer will also write in their name in the agency name staff spot. An example of the signature section is below. As you can see in purple, we have noted the children's names if there are dependent children in the household in the upper 4 sections of the signature block. Clients will sign in the client signature line and write in their name in the client name line. Surveyors will also write their name and write in their initials if the client has signed this form. If the client chooses not to sign or is fleeing domestic violence, surveyors will initial in the consent refuse section of the form. There are additional informed consent forms included in your survey packets for each adult present to sign their own consent form if they choose. These consent forms are included with paper clips at the top of the forms to make them easier to find in your packets. If there are other adults in the household that are not present to sign, the entire household will be entered as non-consenting, and all personally identifiable information will not be included. Kitsap local questions. There is an additional sheet of questions to ask the head of household. These questions are voluntary, but will help our county collect more useful information about families and individuals experiencing homelessness or unstable housing in Kitsap County. You are finished. You have now completed your survey. Please do the following. Thank the person for their time, their help, and for sharing their story. Offer the individual or family handouts if you have any on hand. You can also provide a copy of the Sally's Guide and Veterans Resource Guide if appropriate. And finally, return all your completed survey forms to your team leader, or return to the Housing and Homelessness Program as soon as possible. The address and the return date are listed in the upper right-hand corner of the form. Thank you for volunteering your time and efforts to help Kitsap County conduct the annual point-in-time count. We hope that you will find this to be a rewarding experience and hope that you will join us again in the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you.